Alright friends, welcome back. So today we are going to be adding image to our HTML. In our last session we learned about HTML headings and paragraph, and we gave an assignment before the close. We said we were going to do a HTML blog, a simple blog, a static blog where we just have heading, image and paragraph. So that's what we're going to do today. So for starters, I only have um, an image folder here where I have two images in it, an image folder, and I've created an empty HTML file called blog.html. So we're just going to quickly do the HTML boilerplate hash exclamation mark, hit the tab button, and you're going to get the boilerplate. So we're going to say HTML for our title, static blog. Okay, so here we're going to have our h1 and we're going to call it adding images to HTML. So here we're going to have a paragraph. We're going to use the lorem ipsum to add, hit the tab to have some dummy text, and we're going to duplicate this text. Okay, so we'll have more text. All right, so we can preview this. Remember, if you don't have the live server, you can just hit here, go to review in Explorer and open the blog. Okay, so this is what we have. Now I want to add an image in between this. So let's come back to our code. So there are two ways to add image. Either you're adding an image using the image URL, or you're adding image directly from your root folder, which is the best, so that if you're hosted your site and there is a problem with the image, your image will not break and you always find it in your project. So that's why it's best to use the one saved in your project. But we're going to learn how to use the URL as well, because sometimes it's lighter to use that one. So we have the image like this. So image have is a self-closing tag and it has attributes and values. So these are example of HTML attributes. Attributes, this is the attribute name and the value comes in between the exclamation mark. This is another image attribute name and the value comes in between the exclamation mark. So for the source attribute, we're going to go online now. Go to your Chrome browser. I've already opened freepik.com. So take this image. Okay, we'll copy the image URL, copy image address, we'll go back to our code and add it here. So this is how you add image URL. You can copy your image from any free site you have. It's not advisable to use Google image except maybe you're using to create. So now we're going to add the alternative. Alternative is used for people who are visually impaired or people who use the voice what's it called again, screen reader, so they can be able to know what kind of image you have here. So let's see again, we have a kind of a flowery pathway kind of, so they can know that okay, there's an image that is here. Or if you have network issue and your image is not loading, okay, sorry, flower pathway, and your image is not loading, this will help the screen reader, for those who are visually impaired, to know that this is the kind of image that is expected here. It will help you when there is no network to know that this is the kind of image that is expected here. So it's always good to have, and also help your SEO during search. So this is why alternative is always good. So now we have saved, Ctrl S, let's go back to view. and this is our image. So now our image is very large. We're going to do one thing now. We're going to see the width and height attributes. So image has 4 attributes. Now we have the width attribute. Now setting the width automatically sets the height, but if you're not satisfied with the height that you have, then you can reset it. So let's just say 250 px. Px is the measurement in of width in HTML. So this is, you see, it says the width, it says the height. Then if you want, if you want to increase the height, then you can now use the height attribute. So this is how you resize your image. Let's increase this now to 400 using the width and height attributes. You see, so that's it. Now let's try using an image from our computer, from our root folder. Let's go back to 200 here. So we're going to try another one. We're going to add another image here. We're going to say h2, adding image from root folder. We're going to add another paragraph. We're going to say lorem, sorry, okay, let's leave this that way. So now let's add this. Now it's the same image. Now for the source, you are going to always start from your root source, which is the name of the folder which your image is stored inside. We're now going to say images, and make sure you spell it the same exact way it is, or else you will not see the image. So images, okay, this is giving me some snippet, but you make sure you type it exactly how it is, landscape.jpg, and you make sure you include the extension, the image extension, else it will not show. Okay, so I'm going to drag one of these images out so we can test it if it's outside the folder. Okay, so now this is for the image in the folder. Let's view this. Ctrl S to save and refresh this. Remember, I've changed this size. Oh, this image is very big. Okay, so we know what to do. We're going to use, okay, this is a landscape. We're going to use the width attribute to reduce the size. So let's say width, let's give it 250 px. Now for the alternative, we're going to say a landscape. All right, so this is it. Let's refresh. Yes, this is what we have, a nice landscape. Now if, let's add another image. Now this one is outside a folder, it's just directly inside our HTML folder. It's not, so what you do, you use the name directly, and the name is what, mountain.jpg. So you say mountain.jpg. but if it's inside a folder, make sure you begin from the folder, just like this, images slash. If it's not in a folder, then you get the name like that. If it's in a folder, then you keep doing the image slash whatever name that folder is, so that you can find your image. That's what they say, the source, meaning where is it stored in your computer. So you must get that part correctly. Now we have saved. Let's add a width to this first before we display it. Let's say 200 px, and then voila. Now you can notice that our image are say side by side each other. This is because of what is called inline and block level elements. So HTML have block level elements and inline elements. For example, the headings h1, h2, the paragraphs, p tag, they are block level, and that's why you see when you have a heading and you add the paragraph, it takes a new line, it breaks to a new line. That's what a block level element is. But an inline element, they stay side by side each other. So images images are inline elements. So for your image to go to the next line, if you don't want it here, you can either use the break tag, or you put it in something called a div. So we'll talk about div in our next video, but let's just see how div works here first. So now we have added this image to a div. Control S to save. We refresh and you see it has taken. So div is a block level element. Then is we have what we call a span. Span is inline element. So if we put it in, they basically don't do anything. They're just containers that help us separate items, elements in our code. So that is it for adding images. You now know how to use URL and your root for adding image from your root folder. You also learned a bit about div. So I hope you enjoyed this session. Please do well to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Till our next session. Thank you very much. Bye.